Before there was a continent, there were peoples. Before there was a map, there were kingdoms. Before there was a single name stretching across 30 million square kilometers, there were thousands of names, each one sacred, each one earned, each one given by the people who actually lived there. The name Africa, that came later, that came from outside, and the story of how it happened is the first thing they never taught you. The truth about the name Africa. The word Africa was not created by Africans. Most historians trace it to the Romans. When Rome defeated Carthage, the great African empire in the north, they named that conquered territory Africa, from the Latin word Africa, meaning sunny, or possibly from the Afri, a small Berber people who lived near Carthage. One small region, one foreign word, and over centuries, that name slowly spread. Arab geographers expanded it across the north. European cartographers stretched it further south, until one word, invented by conquerors, covered an entire continent. Think about what that means. The Zulu had a name for their land. The Ashanti had a name for their land. The Mandinka, the Amhara, the Yoruba, the Igbo, the Kikuyu. Every single people on this continent had names for their rivers, their mountains, their kingdoms, their sacred grounds. What they did not have was a reason to call themselves one thing, because they were not one thing. They were thousands of magnificent things. What about Al-Kabulan? You may have heard the word Al-Kabulan. It is used widely today in Pan-African movements, in books, in speeches, as the original African name for the continent. But history demands honesty. Al-Kabulan does appear in historical references. Some scholars trace it to ancient Arab geographers who wrote about the lands south of the Sahara. Others connect it to Carthaginian or Berber usage. But it was never a name that the diverse peoples of this continent universally called themselves. Because here is what mainstream historians confirm. No single African people sat down and named the entire continent. That was never the African way. Identity here was not a continent. Identity was your kingdom, your river, your ancestors, your language, your soil. The Nile was not just a river. It had names of every language spoken along its banks. Great Zimbabwe was not just a city. It was a statement of power, carved in stone. Timbuktu was not just a place. It was a civilization. These names were real. These names were alive. These names were African. So when outsiders arrived and called everything by one name, they did not just rename a continent. They erased thousands of identities with a single word. They took the Yoruba and the Zulu and the Ashanti and the Amhara and the Mandinka, peoples who had never called themselves the same thing, and flattened them all into one label, Africa. And with that label came assumptions. One history, one story, one narrative, primitive, undeveloped, without civilization. But you cannot tell one story about thousands of civilizations. You cannot flatten the Mali Empire and the Kingdom of Kush and Great Zimbabwe and the Swahili coast and Carthage into a single sentence. The diversity of this continent, its thousands of languages, kingdoms, spiritual systems, sciences, and philosophies, that diversity was not a weakness. It was the proof of its greatness. This is why this channel exists. Not to give Africa one name, not to replace one story with another, but to restore the thousands of stories that were buried. The empire you never heard of, the queen whose name was erased, the city that was sophisticated before Europe had paved roads, the science that predates what they taught you in school. Your people did not come from nothing. They came from everything. And we are just getting started. Welcome to Rewriting Africa. Welcome to the Africa they buried. I will see you in the next episode.